All right, hi, this is Jessica, and I'm going to be presenting today on transitioning your student organization. So let me start the presentation. Okay, going too fast. So this is all about transitioning student leaders, and it's a guide for transitioning new leadership in your student organization. The first thing is how to prepare for successful transitions. It's a really good idea to first gather the old and new officers together and to have them come together to hold a transition planning meeting. During this meeting, you can introduce new officers to key contacts, host a technology orientation with presence and social media, hand over passwords, make sure that they can log on to things. And then you can also fulfill any outstanding obligations that the current officer has in that role, or tell the new person, hey, this is what I started on and I need you to help carry it out. The transition meeting itself is broken down here. But before the newly elected officers of your organization officially assume their responsibilities, it's wise for the old and new officers to get together, like I mentioned, for this transition meeting. Through such a transition meeting, the new officers will be able to learn from the experience of the outgoing officers and offer continuity and continued growth for the organization. A casual but open atmosphere should be encouraged so that the organization, can benefit from an honest evaluation of the accomplishments and the problems of the previous year. The following can help you to make your transition meeting go as smoothly as possible. So I think the first thing that you should do is to do an introduction of everybody. They probably already know each other, but say like what your current or what your new position is going to be, and maybe do a little bit of an icebreaker so everybody can get to know each other. Then you can discuss the year in review and hold the officer transition breakout sessions, which I'll talk a little bit more in detail about in the next slide. And then I think it's really important to wrap up with a special way to show that the position has been passed on, such as doing some type of like little ceremony type of thing, or I'm trying to think of some different ways virtually for you to be able to do that. But I think it's important for the outgoing officer to give the position over to the incoming officer. The transition meeting should involve these two things: the year in review and the officer transition. So for the year in review, you can look over the goals. What did you hope to accomplish in the organization? What did the organization, how did the organization do with each goal that they might have set? Which goals should be carried on to next year, and which goals might need to be changed, and which ones aren't feasible at all and the organization may never accomplish that we need to move on from. The next is to think about the programs activities that the organization held. So you want to evaluate what your group did, how effective were the programs and activities. Was there a good balance in the schedule of program and activities? Did we do too much? Did we do too little? Were programs and activities consistent with the goals that the organization had? And which activities or programs do we want to repeat, and which ones maybe are better left without happening? Next thing to think about is the officer and organizational structure. You want to evaluate the amount of the officers' roles and see if their roles are clearly described. Did officers work as a team? Is there something that needs to be done to foster more teamwork? Is there any way to make communication better? Do we want to continue working on GroupMe? Does it want to be emails? What does that look like? And next is organizational operations. You want to think about the finances. Did we use as much money as we should have? Did we use less money? How is the communication of how much money we have? Did the group function properly? Were meetings run efficiently? Was there Was there a committee structure? Was the committee working well? Did we have scheduling conflicts with other groups or activities? How did that all work out? You also want to think about your advisor involvement and support. Did the advisor provide the support that you need? How else can we get the advisor involved with what we're doing? How could you improve advisor involvement? And then lastly, put the public image of the organization, evaluate how other groups and other students might perceive you. How does the organization perceive itself? And how can the organization enhance its image? The second thing is officer transition. This is really important, and this should be done with the current and the incoming officer together in breakout sessions. Virtually, I suggest this be done one-on-one on either FaceTime or Zoom. Especially if you need to like show each other documents or how to get online, like to social media or something, I would probably suggest doing it on a Zoom. So the things that you can do are go over the responsibilities of the position with a job description. Hopefully your organization has that for each of the positions. If not, I would, as the current officer, write something up. Think about the timeline for completion of your annual duties. So if you are the person who is in charge of finances, what does it look like? Do you have to submit a budget at a certain time? Do you have to request money in a certain timeline? You know, is it 2 weeks, a month in advance? Refer back to the Canvas training if you need help with any of that stuff. You also want to think about some unfinished projects. Tell your incoming officer what you were working on and what maybe they might have to pick up on. Share with them important contacts and resource persons. So you maybe want to introduce them to myself and where our office is, maybe who the advisor is if they're not familiar with that advisor, because I know a lot of advisors will just sometimes work with the executive board and maybe not all the members know who that person is. Whoever else has been really a good resource in the community, etc. I would discuss with them the mistakes that could have been avoided within your position. Think critically about what you did in the position, how you wish you could have made it better, what you learned from it, so that they can really not make the same mistakes that you did, in a way that they can grow from the position. The officer transition should also include kind of like a question portion for the new officer to ask any type of questions that they have, and then just give each other contact information. If you happen to be graduating, the outgoing officer is graduating, give maybe like your personal email, so if they have questions that they can ask you, or exchange phone numbers or something like that. A successful transition should preserve important information and relationships. It should build and learn from past successes and mistakes, allow for continuity and stability of the organization. It should keep members excited about the organization, and it should definitely follow a plan. By creating a smooth transition, your organization should be able to carry on with operations the way that it has been, and just improve from where it has been. A successful transition will not have everybody starting back at square one, but instead building off of what has already been done with the organization. So that's all I really have with suggestions and ideas for how to create your transition for your old members into your new members. I really want you to think critically about how you'll utilize the information that I just gave you. Think about like what your organization already does and how you can improve upon it or bolster it with some of the things that I've discussed in this presentation. And then also think about too, how are you facilitating trainings online? Are you using text messaging? Are you sharing things through the OneDrive? Are you Zooming with each other so you can see different things? It's really important that you're keeping in touch with the current leadership to the new membership, so that when fall comes, that you are able, the organization is able to start like hit the ground running type of thing, that they already know what they're supposed to be doing and that they're ready to go, because we are kind of losing that maybe transition time face to face right now. The other thing is to let me assist your organization. I can totally email you and provide you with this PowerPoint examples of transition documents. I have a really great document that I can give you, which has a kind of worksheet of questions for the current officer to think of, and a worksheet that has questions and kind of prompts for the incoming officer to think of, so that they can facilitate a great conversation with each other about how to transition the position. You could also set up hours to FaceTime or Chime with me, or even just a phone call if that's something you'd rather do. If you have any questions about how to transition your organization, or any issues that your organization is having that you might need my help with, or if you just want to say hi and just catch in with me, these are all things that you can do. My email is right down here, jfitzpatrick@lynn.edu, and I hope that you guys are having a great day, and thanks for coming or viewing this presentation.